The United States has never needed to fire a single bullet to cripple an enemy economy. It has a weapon far more precise, far more devastating, and completely invisible. That weapon is the US dollar. Right now, the United States government has active economic sanctions against more than 20 countries, cutting them off from global trade, international banking, and the financial system that runs on American currency. This is financial warfare, and America is better at it than anyone else on Earth. To understand why US sanctions are so powerful, you need to understand one number: 88%. 88% of all international trade transactions are conducted in US dollars, which means almost every bank, every business, and every government on Earth needs access to the US dollar system to function. When the United States sanctions a country, it cuts that country off from SWIFT, the global banking communication network. It freezes their dollar assets, it blocks their access to American markets, and it threatens any foreign company that does business with them with secondary sanctions, meaning even non-American companies get punished for trading with sanctioned nations. The result? An entire economy gets strangled without a single soldier crossing a border. 3 countries demonstrate the full scale and limits of American financial power. Iran, under sanctions since 1979, the longest-running US sanctions regime in history. Iran's economy has shrunk by over 60% in real terms since peak sanctions were reimposed in 2018. Oil exports, Iran's primary revenue source, collapsed from 2.5 million barrels per day to under 400,000. Inflation exceeded 40%. The Iranian rial lost over 80% of its value against the dollar. Russia. Following the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, the United States and European allies froze $300 billion in Russian central bank assets. The ruble collapsed 40% in days. Russia was removed from SWIFT. Over 1,000 international companies exited the Russian market within months. North Korea, the most isolated economy on Earth. Sanctions have reduced North Korea's foreign trade to approximately $200 million annually, compared to South Korea's $1.2 trillion. The same peninsula, the same people, divided only by sanctions and ideology, and an economic gap of 6,000%. Sanctioned countries do not simply accept their fate. They adapt. They find gaps. They build alternatives. Russia accelerated trade with China, settling transactions in yuan and rubles rather than dollars. By 2023, China accounted for over 30% of Russia's total trade, compared to 15% before sanctions. Iran developed an underground oil trading network, using ghost tankers with disabled tracking systems, fake documentation, and intermediary countries to move oil into Asian markets, primarily China and India, despite sanctions. North Korea has turned to cryptocurrency, using state-sponsored hackers to steal an estimated $3 billion in digital assets between 2017 and 2023, according to the United Nations, funding its weapons programs beyond the reach of traditional financial controls. And a growing coalition of nations, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have actively discussed creating an alternative international payment system that bypasses the US dollar entirely. If successful, it would be the most significant challenge to American financial dominance in 80 years. Yet, for all their power, economic sanctions have a mixed track record. Academic research from the Peterson Institute for International Economics found that sanctions achieve their stated political goals in only 30% of cases. In 70% of cases, the targeted government remains in power, retains its policies, and simply adapts economically. Iran has been sanctioned for 45 years. It still develops nuclear technology. Russia has been under expanded sanctions since 2014. It still controls territory in Ukraine. North Korea has been sanctioned for decades. The uncomfortable truth about financial warfare is this: sanctions devastate ordinary citizens far more than they damage the governments that control them. Inflation, unemployment, and food insecurity fall hardest on populations who have no voice in their government's decisions. The weapon works, but it does not always hit the intended target. The United States dollar is the most powerful non-military weapon ever created. It has reshaped economies, toppled governments, and altered the course of nations, all without a single bomb being dropped. But as the world builds alternatives, yuan trade networks, crypto channels, dollar-free payment systems, the question is no longer whether America's financial weapon works. The question is, how much longer will it remain the only one?